Yeah. Hold on one sec. Okay. Now, just one more thing. Okay. So now somebody's calling. Okay, okay, that's you. Hoo-hoo! And then the other thing we just need to check is we'll check it on the internet. Okay, now we have echoing kind of.
Yeah, because I'll have to close my door. But I wanted to go upstairs and see if it'll show the flag.
Okay. And now, am I echoing because I have this on with this?
It's coming out of my computer.
Okay.
We've got our new Polycom up here too. I forgot they were putting that in today.
Our new what?
Conference phone up here.
Oh, yeah. So now the only thing we need to check is if it's being online on our website, which I think it is. I'm trying to look it up on my phone, but I don't want to mess with anything here. Could you check that maybe?
Yeah, I'll get that.
Okay.
It's there.
It is?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, it had the
Okay.
picture. Now it has the picture. Okay.
Your face is pretty dark, but I think it's because you're in front of the window. Oh, there. That's so much better. Now we can see you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, whatever you just did brightened it up a bit. For a second, at least. Now it's getting darker. Now it's lighter. Now it's really light. Yeah, that looks good.
It's because I blocked the window. Maybe I need to
Yeah,
move
you blocked.
the flag in the other corner of the room.
Yeah, you can move it.
We need a new flag. It is.
Okay, why isn't anybody calling it? Oh, yeah, that's way better. So much better.
Yeah, I gotta get it.
Hey. Thanks. That looks really good.
Now do you have the ability to make my picture the main one?
Yeah, well, since you're talking and you're the only one on the video, it's.
Because I see Jennifer Yovsky on mine, but
I wonder why no one's calling in.
well, they're not gonna call in, they're gonna log in.
I mean, yeah, I thought they were going to do it a few minutes early. I guess maybe they'll do it soon.
Yeah, Lynette should already be logging in. And most of the rest are just a couple minutes before time, so. Or did you talk to them on the phone today while logging in early?
And now I can't really hear you as well.
Okay. I gotta stay in front of the, now can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, here's
Yeah. I have to stay in front
Susan.
of the computer in order to my sound.
Oh, that must be. Okay, so here comes Rob.
Hey!
Yay! Hey! Cool.
You're first, Rob.
So I've got time. I'm gonna have some dinner. I'll see you guys later.
Yay!
You get an extra bonus today for being first. You can hear that.
Can kind of hear you. It's a little muffled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we got one.
Yeah.
I don't have my phone up here either in case I need to call somebody.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call. I haven't heard it ring yet. Okay. Can she just call in? I don't know. Okay, here's somebody. Guess. Oh, this is 20. Sorry. She needs another password. That password, which is just today's date. Okay, people are. Okay, here comes Keith. Here comes Mary. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jennifer, this is Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. And there's Mary. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And Mary and Keith are here. Do you guys want to try to say something, see if we can hear you? Keith, can you hear me? Let's see. He's looking around. I don't know if Keith can hear me. He's not saying anything. I can see him, and I can see Mary. Mary's connecting to audio. Okay. Mary, can you say something? You might have to unmute yourself. It looks like you're muted on your end, maybe. Oh, wait. You were let me unmute you here. No, wait.
I think we're
Okay,
crossing
now
over each other. Can you hear
there
me?
you are. Now I can. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. I think I was unmuting and you were muting and we were both,
There's a way I can plug in.
we were both
Yeah.
killing me. Okay.
So Tim, can you hear Mary and stuff?
Yeah, I can hear Mary Kent and you.
Okay. Keith
Tim,
is
are you
the
on by
one with.
phone?
What's that?
Keith has.
I just don't see Tim's picture.
No, I'm not on the computer. I couldn't do that.
Okay, now Keith is connecting.
I'm just on the phone.
Okay.
Steve, can you say something? There we go.
You had me muted.
Wow.
There you go. Okay, cool. We can hear you now.
We still don't have Lynette.
All right, honey.
But we have a quorum at least.
I'm wearing pants. Can you be my bartender?
Do you need one right now?
No, I'm fine. Hi.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm fine. Boy, you all look fabulous.
Nice of you to join us this week.
Well, I cut my hair.
It took a long time, huh?
I'm probably coming up as Susan Edge. Am I coming up as Susan Edge?
Yes.
You are. You are.
Well,
We always thought that.
getting in touch with my inner Susan Edge.
Are you wearing pants?
No,
I was
I
going
am
to ask
not.
that question.
Poignant.
I'm going to stay on mute so when my dogs bark, you don't hear them, okay?
Okay. Paul, do you want to say something so we can see if we can hear you?
Me?
That's testing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Woohoo! Gotcha.
Okay. And I am wearing pants.
Oh my. Zippers down.
Coward!
Have most of us used Zoom before?
This is my first time.
This is my second time. No, third time.
I've never used it.
Because
This is
there's
Jerry.
And
I've used it a bunch
And-
of times, but this one's asking me for a password to sign in, and I don't have that.
it should be 041420. It's today's date.
41420. Okay, let's see. 041420. 041420. Nope, it says incorrect.
Okay.
2020 or
Maybe
just
it was.
20?
041420.
Okay, Lynette, this is Kent.
Yeah, it asked for a sign-in. I gave it my email.
The meeting, did it ask you for a meeting ID?
No, no, it
Okay.
didn't.
Okay. I don't know.
Hey, Jerry, are you set up with Zoom on your regular email or on your regular? Because
Yeah,
that's how,
I've used it a number of times on this computer.
because when I logged in, then I had to log into my Zoom account separately and then it was fine. I thought, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that
No, I've done it a bunch
kind
of
of linked
times,
me, but then not. Okay.
I've been in a bunch of those meetings, but this time it wants an email and a password, which isn't usually the case. So
Hey,
who
hey,
knows?
Jerry, this is John. Can you hear me?
We can
Yep.
see you, John.
Yeah, okay.
Jerry can't.
Sometimes I ran into that problem with the fire board last week, and you have to sign in with a Google account.
Oh,
Or a Facebook account or something.
or Facebook too.
Or
And
Facebook.
if you can't get it to work, Jerry, you could log into the website and then you could see everybody at least.
but then I'd have to look at Keith.
Getting isolated, Jerry.
I tried calling Lynette, but I can't get her.
Okay. Let's see. Password 041420. All right. Yeah. Wrong password.
So you use your email password.
Yeah, I've tried it. I'm. nothing's really happening here for this.
Shoot.
I can hear you and you can hear me though, right?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I'll keep trying, but meanwhile, I'm on my phone. I got a headset, but I'll try forgot password and see if they'll. Yeah, I'll see if they'll do something anyhow. But you probably want to continue the meeting. I don't want me to be holding it up.
So we just need Lynette.
Yeah, you gotta use your Google account or Facebook.
You know, Jerry, just to make it easier on everybody, I'll mute my end.
Or you can use the phone numbers there to call.
It's not bad. I can hear you okay. Let's.
I don't-
Got a couple of password verification resets, so we'll see if this works.
Yeah.
Hey, John Jennings, I'm really impressed that you're so tech savvy that you've got Zoom.
It's not, it seems like I'm doing good.
Oh, okay. It's all a facade.
Yes. This actually isn't me.
Oh, okay. It's a puppet. Don't say that to Keith.
Hey,
He'll put like a cardboard cutout of Arnold Schwarzenegger in front of the account.
Yeah, I should have stepped it up, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, wait a minute, hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, Google says it's sending me all sorts of great stuff, so we'll see if it does.
Go, Jerry.
Yeah. So Lynette's not there yet?
No.
Not yet. I think, is Kent talking to her on the phone?
Jennifer.
Is that your tiara?
So John,
I love it.
I went to the dentist. I went to the dentist and he said, you need a crown. And I'm like,
Here she is.
right?
Now it seems like.
It's a beautiful
Jennifer
crown.
just said you're there. Are you?
There she is.
Hey,
You realize, Rob, we're being broadcast live, so your
Okay.
constituents can see you.
Well, wanted you
that's
to know.
nice too, Captain.
That's right.
And this is being broadcast on on our website.
Worldwide.
Where's the
Everybody knows Rob.
Is this any different?
Makes all the rest of us look better.
Or where's Waldo? Where is Robo?
Okay, are we all here or,
Yes,
Yes.
we are all here.
okay, who are the two on that just have phone numbers? Which one's which?
That's Jerry with the box.
And I'm just on my phone. This is Tim.
Okay, you're the 303 number, Tim?
Okay,
Yay,
I
Tim.
know it
I
would
just
be
made it.
727.
Oh,
Oh,
there's
there's
Jerry.
Jerry.
Jerry just made it.
Yay,
Here.
okay.
Yeah.
And I have the flag in my picture, Lynette, if that's how you want to start the meeting. I have
Okay.
the flag in my picture.
Gotcha. All right. So it is now 6:06 p.m. on Tuesday, April 14th. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. And could we please all join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
of
of the United States of
United
America
States of America,
and to the republic
republic
which it stands,
which stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
liberty and
for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Next would be roll call. I am Police Judge Lynette Kelsey, Selectman Keith Holmes,
here.
Selectman Rob Connell,
Here.
John Jennings,
Here.
Paul Hingen,
Here.
Mary Smith,
Here,
and Tim Allen.
Here.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Next, we would have agenda approval. Does anybody have anything they want to add or change on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Do we have anybody trying to?
We do have Carol as a guest. Carol, did you want to speak? No?
Okay.
Okay.
Hearing no audience business, we will move on. The payables. We have before us the payables from March 20th, 2020 to April 9th, 2020. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Just one question about the Gateway construction. That was just finishing up a contract that the stuff they'd done way earlier. Yes.
Correct. Correct.
but we still owe them a fair amount.
Which one are you looking at regarding that?
On page 3, under the sales tax fund capital improvement expenditures, we're paying out like 28, 50, $60,000 on Gateway construction.
Yeah, there's just, there's one more final check to them, to PLM on the 1st at their, this completes almost the entirety of it. There's one more, as far as their retention that still has that we've been holding on to until they get their paperwork with CDOT taken care of. And once their paperwork with CDOT is taken care of, then CDOT will pay us and then we get to pay them.
Oh, it's in escrow.
But
So
we're
the money's
holding
in
back.
escrow.
Go ahead, Mary.
Are we holding back a sizable amount though until it's actually done?
That's what's for segment 2. Segment 1 is the CDOT portion. And that's why you see it split in a couple different ways there. The part of that's for segment 1. Yes, the segment 2 is not done. We're not getting paid for anything they haven't done. What I was talking about CDOT was regarding the part from 11th to the Fork. And that part is the part that they need paperwork to CDOT, and CDOT pays us, and then we pay their retention for that. They will have an amount, or they will have in the next few weeks here, hopefully, when they confirm the schedule, they will come and finish the part on segment 2 with the lights and with the paving from the Fork up to 6th Street. And that will be done with that portion.
So Kent, just to clarify, are all of the 3 payments that are listed in the payables, are they pertaining to segment 1 or segment 2?
They are pertaining to segment 1.
Okay, so that's the 11th to the Fork. Okay,
Yes.
all right. Does that answer your question, Mary?
Yeah, I have another question about 2 other payments on here.
Wonderful.
So on page 1 under municipal court legal services, the $900 for our prosecutor, it's dated March 31st. I understand that that may have been for services rendered prior to the court's shutdown, or is that just a monthly retainer?
It's a monthly as far as the prosecutor. It's for prior work before March 31st. And I don't know for 100% sure how the contract actually reads with the prosecutor, because they're still doing stuff as far as extending. The actual court is not meeting in April, but that means most of the cases were just postponed until May or June. Doesn't mean
Right.
that the cases went away.
But if we shut down like March 14th or 16th or 17th, that's 2 weeks of potentially not providing any services because we weren't in action.
They were,
Kent, maybe I can help.
yeah, maybe you
address
can say
that.
it better than I can, Jerry.
I don't work directly with the prosecutor. Rarely they'll be in touch with me, but I'll tell you, just throughout the municipal prosecution world, there is frankly a fair amount of continuing work to continue cases, to deal with defendants and defendants' attorneys to get them rescheduled, deal with the judge to enter orders, continuing cases, agreeing to toll speedy trial requirements, you know, that 90-day speedy trial requirement in the municipal court. So the prosecutors have been fairly busy. I guess despite the fact that they haven't shown up for a court date, that's really just a piece of what they do. What I might suggest is that the bill be paid, but that we inquire the prosecutors what their schedule has been and what they expect to be going forward. If there's a savings, if the courts remain not open, it would not be a savings of all $900 because they're still having to keep these cases handled and manipulated and managed, and that, as it turns out, in other cities has been almost as much trouble as showing up in court. So I guess I'd
And I
advise.
can speak to that. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
That we, I was the court clerk and now we've hired Bettina. We scanned all of the files for court was going to be on April 10th. And then Stephen on April 3rd, how he normally does, if there's anyone to talk to, we had 3 pleas signed, and then he had other ones in the works, and the people just didn't return the pleas back. So but then we continued all of those to June 12th. So he has been doing stuff.
I guess my suggestion would be that if the board's amenable, that you approve the payment, but you ask the prosecutor maybe to, on accompanying their bills going forward, just accompany that with an explanation of here's how we've kind of changed what we have to do to be able to keep your court moving and alive, and see what they have to say about that. Because I think that's fair. They're still handling a lot of cases, and in some cases it's more because the defendant's attorneys are calling to say, okay, what happens to our case, and it's just requiring management.
Okay.
That's fine. I appreciate that explanation. And then I just had one other question for the Town Promotion Commission Fund, also on page 3. The $37.50 to Slate Communications, is that an annual payout? Is that a quarterly payout?
That is part of their annual contract. I think they do it in 2 or 3 payments. I forgot what because their contract was reduced this year. That's why I'm having a little bit of trouble doing the math. We reduced their contract this year, and this is the third or first half.
And that's because they're no longer managing the website, is that?
Correct.
That's Bullfinch that's doing that?
Bullfinch is doing the website, and then Travis is doing the social media part.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have questions about the payables? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the payables as presented then.
I'll make the motion. Is John, of the payables from 3/20/2020 to 4/9/2020.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payables from 3/20 to 4/9 of 2020 as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And was that Rob or Paul that seconded?
It was Keith.
Oh, Keith, sorry. Okay, glad I asked.
Okay, next we have the minutes of the March 24th, 2020 regular meeting. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, since I wasn't there, on March 24th, 2020.
I have a question about the minutes.
Okay,
On page 3, under the administrator's report, the protocol for town buildings and operations, the last bullet, utility payments, doesn't really have an explanation, and I know we discussed that. Perhaps it would be more valuable if some of that discussion or what our reference was, other than just utility payments, was included in the minutes.
Okay. I can, let's see, go back and put more detail into that. I'm looking up my notes right now.
I mean, it's just a little vague the way it is. I think it will be helpful for us to have
Sure.
what our,
Yeah, I think a sentence like utility payments are still accepted by phone and by auto debit, and can still be dropped off at the in the utility payment box outside the door.
Okay. I'll add that.
does that sound okay, Mary?
yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Rob has made the motion to approve. Are you okay with amending?
I'm fabulous with the amendments.
Okay,
Be more clear, makes better sense if I could make a motion to approve the minutes with the amended additions for March
Right.
24th.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the March 24th meeting, 2020 as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That was Keith on the second, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, does anybody have any objection to moving the professional services agreement for our events coordinator to the first item, since she's been kind enough to join us?
No problem with me.
No, it's fine.
I'm good.
Okay, great. Welcome, Carolyn. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to have a face to put with the name. So, everybody have a chance to read the contract? Do you have any questions, comments?
The exhibit with the contract will be basically the job description that we had created, that the promotions commission had created for the special events coordinator.
Okay.
So,
I guess my usual question would be under the, do we need to have in both the contract itself, the agreement, and in the recommended motion, not to exceed amount, since we've got a certain amount budgeted?
we certainly can.
This is going to be a multi-year obligation potentially, correct?
Yes.
So what we might want to do is say not to exceed number for 2020, right? For this budget year. And then as years go on, we could be approving just the NTE for 2021, et cetera, as necessary.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does to
Carolyn?
me.
Are you unmuted, Carolyn? We're not sure we can
am.
hear you.
Yeah, I can't
Are you
hear.
hearing it or not?
I don't see a mute button.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
I did unmute. Can
Turn up
you
the
hear me
volume.
now?
That's
Yes,
better.
that's better.
Thank you.
Okay.
We can certainly add that under compensation as a third paragraph under compensation, that the compensation for the year 2020 is not to exceed what number, Kent?
21,600.
Okay. We can certainly do that.
Is there an anticipated amount of hours per week or per month? I see in the summary it refers to a half-time position, but what's the assumption here?
There's going to be some weeks that it'll be more than 20 hours a week. There's going to be other weeks that there's not as much as 20 hours a week. It's really depends on the events that occur and the events that are created. That was one of the discussions at the Promotions Commission about the work schedule is going to vary. But the overall, and that's what the budget was for a half-time position, or basically that amount, and that's what it comes out to.
Carolyn, you might want to explain to the board. You'll notice board on the fourth page, sorry. Paragraph I, as in interest, under conflict of interest. Our standard contract requires, and this is our standard, requires the contractor refrain from performing services that would be a conflict with the town for any reason. And Carolyn has disclosed a couple of events toward the end of that paragraph, letter I, that the contract says the town agrees these activities do not conflict. I believe that they do not, but I only wrote that assuming that the board would then review this and agree. And so it might be a good opportunity for Carolyn to elaborate on that just a bit and make sure that it doesn't raise any concerns for board member. Carolyn?
Okay, I don't have that in front of me, but I think it's referring to, I started last year an event in Idaho Springs to raise funds for Loaves and Fishes. So we do a wing crawl. It's normally the first weekend in May in Idaho Springs. All of the restaurants participate, donate 2 wings. You know, you buy a wristband for a certain amount. All those 100% of those funds go to Loaves and Fishes, the local food pantry, and people enjoy going restaurant to restaurant, trying all the different wings. That has gotten moved. We don't, because it was supposed to be the first weekend in May. So that's going to happen sometime in the fall. But at this point, I can make sure that it doesn't, like it was a fixed date when I interviewed. It's no longer a fixed date. So I can definitely flex that date to make sure it's not in conflict with anything happening in Georgetown. And then the second Saturday in August every fall in my community up in St. Mary's Glacier, we run Glacier Fest, which is a music festival where we get several thousand people up here. And I am on that committee and help run and plan that event that day. So that's kind of a given Saturday that I'm going to hope we don't have to also run something in Georgetown that weekend. But we've been, this will be our 3rd year, and we've been sticking with that second Saturday in August. So.
Okay.
Members of the board, any issues with that or questions?
I don't see anybody.
I don't This is John. I don't have a problem with that. It seems like it also helps with our cross pollination with the other towns in the area to get more events up into Clear Creek.
I agree.
Okay.
And
They're both fun ones. You should come.
and Police Judge Kelsey and members of the board.
Yeah, we can do wing crawl in Georgetown if we have enough restaurants to do, we'll do buffalo wings that day, or pick a day and I'll do them, because it's a great way to bring people into the town and get money for a good charity.
Okay.
Good idea.
Oh, Kent, you were going to say something?
I was just saying that this is presented to the board because even though it was budgeted, the Promotions Commission assisted in the recruitment and selecting of this candidate. And I think it's going to be important for our business community. It may seem strange right now while a lot of businesses are shut down to go ahead and get this taken care of, but I think it's going to be important for our business community to be ready for additional assistance as things become, try to go back to normal or somewhat normal, and whatever that is defined as. But our business community is going to need that assistance, and that's why the Promotions Commission was still interested in having this go forward as well. Whatever little events we can generate in addition to our regular events during the year, it will help our businesses get back on their feet once we start returning. So.
Is Tim, are you still there? You're not muted or anything, are you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, can't see a facial expression, but if you want to make a comment, you just chime in.
No, I'm good with this.
Okay. All right. So
In
if,
fact, make a motion,
okay,
and I would move to approve the professional services administration contract for special event coordination services with Carolyn Hone. I hope I pronounced your name right. To not exceed the amount of $21,600 and in a form approved by the town attorney and signed by the police judge.
I'll second it.
Do we want to add for 20? Did you add 2020? I'm sorry, I got distracted.
No, I didn't. I missed that. But I will.
I heard it as,
oh,
I heard it as directing that change to be made, and I'll make sure it's made.
Thank you.
okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the professional services agreement with the changes that have been discussed. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank
Okay,
you.
and
Thank
did
you,
Keith-
Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks.
Was it
Okay.
Keith that made the second? Sorry, guys.
It was.
No, it was Rob.
Oh, it was Rob?
It was Rob. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then our other item is actions by the town administrator under Resolution 4, Series 2020.
Police Judge Kelsey and members of the board, we included in your packet. There was 2 actions taken last week that were you had authorized a resolution at your last meeting, Resolution 4, and that authorized some additional authorities for the town administrator to take action if necessary. One of those actions, we did close Georgetown Lake to all activities except walking and hiking. And I have a action item memo in your packets. that describes which sections of Resolution 4 that is authorized under Section O and Section P. And we've had good success with the closing of Georgetown Lake. The police have reported this last weekend. There was hardly any, if any, activity at the lake that was questionable. Most of the time they spent working Guanella Pass or a couple other locations in town. So that seems to have been successful so far. And it seems like the local residents are still able to walk and hike around Georgetown Lake, or even if there is someone else, they can walk and hike around the lake. But that's with that action that was taken. And then there was also an order that was sent out. A communication was given to all the short-term rentals within town. And these are all the Airbnbs or VRBOs closing or telling them that they had to close. They could not accept any new rentals. And it shows on the memo that under Resolution 4, this includes Section E, Section M, and Section R. And we've had fairly good success with that as well. We did have one person who was contacted over the weekend. We did contact the owner. It was a relative of the owner that was in the residence. But, and I did end up speaking with every member of the board before taking that action. But that action occurred on Tuesday. But what I've put before you is also to say if there's any comments or discussion by the board regarding those two actions that have occurred. And also provided an opportunity with Jerry's help, a motion to either confirm that those actions, that you're in full support of those actions that were taken, or if you'd like to give some direction to change or modify those actions that were taken. And I stand for questions.
I have a question about the STRs. Does that include regular bed and breakfast?
No, it did not at this point. Neither bed and breakfast is accepting anyone at this point. One is they're going to be not going to accept anybody for a long time because of the individual situation that they have. And then the other one, they're not accepting anyone at this point either. The county is discussing, they discussed, or I was contacted yesterday about it, and then they discussed it at their meeting today to issue a public health order regarding all short-term rentals within the county and possibly all short-term lodging, which would include short-term rentals, bed and breakfast, hotels, the whole ball of wax. There might be some exceptions that they would include within that, because when I've contacted the hotels, most of the people that they have there, they don't have very many at all. But the few people that they have are usually related to the construction work that's going on either on I-70 or in other places, or it's a long-term situation. It's not just a, that night type of thing. But the county is, I would suspect that they're going to go ahead and issue a public health order on Thursday. It seems like what the conversation was today at the meeting. So that may take, and that will involve, the public health order would involve both inside town and out in the county, both places.
Wouldn't we have to have a motion that makes us join their order, or what?
Now with the public health order, just like the state public health order ordered all the restaurants to close.
Mm-hmm.
we didn't really have a say in it. It would be the same regarding a county public health order, and maybe Jerry can speak to it more directly than I can, the legality of it, but.
Ken is right. It's the right question, John, because, you know, for land use and so many other things, the town has its own set of rules and is not governed by the county. But for public health matters and a few other kinds of things like that, the county has jurisdiction within the town. And I think importantly, and in other jurisdictions that I represent, the communities are relying on the local county Department of Public Health to issue citations and warnings to businesses, for example, that just choose to stay open in defiance of the governor's order and the state health department's order. And it's been very helpful, frankly, to have the local Department of Health, county health, there to be able to enforce and show up, and they're just better able and armed to explain to the businesses that have to be closed why they have to be. So that's a long answer to your question, but the county Department of Health can impose restrictions that cover the town.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes, Mary.
Would we want to extend this to similar to Gunnison, to exclude non-residents who are owners of the short-term rentals, which would then encompass the situation that Kent said he ran into where there was a relative of an owner? I mean, the idea is to not have additional people coming into our town for any extended stay, you know. So would it be valuable to extend it to the owners and their families or whatever? So they're not saying, oh, my friend is just going to come up and stay the weekend for free.
That gets into property rights, I would think.
I mean, the way Gunnison dealt with it was that if you were a non, you know, if you weren't declaring that particular area your permanent residence, which would then be the same as Georgetown. I don't know if Gunnison's is legal either, and I don't mean to single them out, but they're the ones that I'm aware of that implemented a restriction on short-term rentals. What's the difference between a person renting it and paying for it or another person staying in it that doesn't normally reside here?
Well,
I think it's worth looking into and excluding or restricting that.
certainly appropriate for the board discussion. It's a significant, or it's a public policy choice that is kind of incremental. And where you're at now is, okay, short-term rental operators that have licenses don't take any more reservations, can't be renting them to your customers, which is kind of level one if you're gonna deal with it at all. I mean, that's where you start. I think in another city I'm aware of, they said, okay, no short-term rentals for any less than 14 days, because there was and I'll get to your question in a minute, Mary, but this is kind of the landscape of the regulation of short-term rentals, and that's Mary's question. I think it's a fair one. And so in that city, they said you can be open, but you have to rent for 14 days because health workers and first responders can use those facilities. To go beyond telling short-term rentals to stop their commercial rentals and expand it further, you can certainly do that, but that is going to engender enforcement logistics, for lack of a better way of saying it, that are considerably more complicated than just telling them you can't any longer rent to customers, then it's, okay, where is that person from? And there's some real enforcement. I'm not saying you can't do it. All I'm saying is that as you step up incrementally, the level of attention the town has to give to make sure that restriction is enforced increases. And that's a social kind of policy choice and a logistical support choice that the board can certainly make.
Actually, I kind of wondered that too. In various parts of the country, people are being asked not to go to their second homes. If wherever your primary residence is, stay there. And that starts to, I don't know how you enforce that, other than everybody watches each other like hawks, and reports it if they see somebody who they know lives someplace else and just vacations here.
Let me, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, my question's to you, Jerry. Can you make an order where you can come in, but you can't leave?
Yes, I wouldn't do that yet. We
Oh, no, that's
certainly,
drastic, but I'm saying,
yeah,
that would mitigate the problem.
I think under the emergency resolution you adopted, I think you could do that. The enforcement of that, try to play that videotape forward. Are you on the on-ramp to the freeway, and are you stopping every car saying, okay, where are you going? You going to Idaho Springs to shop, or are you leaving? I do want to add on the subject, and this dialogue illustrates how difficult this is, really, and what a can of worms COVID has placed on us. I do know that one step that Gunnison County has taken, and I saw it just yesterday from the town attorney in Crested Butte, sent, and some of you may have seen it. It was a letter signed by all the county commissioners and all the mayors and all of the towns in Gunnison County. And it was a letter kind of asking for voluntary compliance and describing why, we know you love our community, and we know you love this community, either as a visitor or as a second homeowner. And we ask that you respect the fact that we've got a small hospital with no ICU. And, please understand that to the extent you do show up here, it's going to really overburden the resources that we need for the year-round residents. Not that they're better or special or different from you, because we're all residents somewhere, aren't we? It's kind of the pitch they made. And I thought it was a really good pitch.
It's really good.
To eliminate the us versus them kind of, you're from out of town, therefore you're bad. Not really. Everybody's from out of town when they're out of town.
Right.
Now, I admit that that's not an enforceable kind of thing, but it is the message they've kind of uniformly put out there. And there's Paul's dog is now in the meeting. That's great. What's the dog's name? Come on.
This is Ida May.
Ida May.
Ida May.
And I got Lulu Bell right here beside me, and Roxy's over on the floor.
So that is one step toward what Mary's suggesting, that is not something that creates enforcement logistical issues. And it's a step. All these things are incremental, and there's probably more than 3 doors in this one. So
when you say enforcement issues, we do have a sheriff's department right in town.
Local police too.
But I mean, even though you'll need bodies, 3 guys can't handle 3 exits, with enforcement. You need the sheriff's department to help. And in emergent situations, isn't that their job?
It absolutely is. The question is, what do you want their 8 hours a day to be devoted to? And you can you could put them at the exit. There's a lot of cars there, and that would be their whole day. And you can do that, and that it's all a matter of priorities, as I know the board well knows. When you got limited resources and staff, you make decisions about what's the most important thing you want them doing. And that's the board to decide. You've got this range that is incremental, as I've described, and the more you go up, the more of their resources you use.
Also, keep in mind that with that, the county road closure to visitors who don't have essential purpose sort of reasons to be here, they're not posting people at exits and questioning them. They're requesting voluntary, and they're trusting that there's an honor system amongst people, and hopefully that I know, because there's not the personnel to do that kind of enforcement.
Well, it's funny. We were sitting on the corner of Rose and 6th, and sure enough, here comes a Mercedes and going up Guanella Pass, and about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, weren't letting anybody going up. I guess that second switchback pretty much past the residences. That's where they were turning people away. And we saw that about a half a dozen times.
So,
Well, I thought that the roads in Georgetown and Idaho Springs were not closed to non-residents, just the county roads.
Correct.
And I think with that being the case, back to the short-term rentals, I think that if non-residents are allowed in town, then I would think that we would allow the property owners to come to their property.
One more thing to add to this discussion that's going to be happening is over the next couple months, we have quite a few people that only live in Georgetown during the summer. And they may or may not return to Georgetown. And they'll be in a similar type situation as this discussion regarding short-term rental owners, because they are from a different population. They stayed at home where they were at, but if this continues for several more weeks, they may or may not. It'll be each individual's decision, unless there's some order that tells them they can't, whether it's from some governmental authority. They may return to Georgetown and they'll present the same sort of conundrum, for lack of a better word. They're having to mix the populations that occur.
So, Paul, did you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I'm totally on board about short-term rentals, that we don't want to start mixing populations is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're down in Texas, staying at home now, and they have a second home up here, I don't think they should be up here like they normally do. This is not normal. And stay-at-home orders, stay at home. Your primary residence, don't go visit your second home.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Okay.
I did hear from the clerk in Idaho, or in Empire, that a lot of some people are like, okay, if I'm going to be quarantined, might as well be quarantined in my mountain home.
Okay.
FYI, just
Sure.
another scenario. You got people that don't normally live here that are just choosing to quarantine themselves in Georgetown for 2 weeks.
So, Keith, any thoughts?
Well, my primary residence is Georgetown, but currently I can't leave my basement right now in Denver. I think we have to be a little bit lenient with those people that do typically spend summers up here, you know, if they've got those plans, but it's kind of a conundrum. We don't want outside chances to spread the virus. I don't know. I think we're going to have to play it by ear a little bit. I suppose if I were to commit, I would commit on the side of restricting access to people that typically don't live up there. But it is a tough decision.
So with I being in code enforcement in my day job, I realize how difficult it is to be everywhere, and how many manpower hours does it take to actually enforce those decisions that you make to exclude from their property. Do we have the police to cover that? I would say probably not. And I would prefer not to exclude people who own another home up here. I would maybe encourage them to not just go flying back and forth, you know, stay in one place. If you normally come here for the summer and you normally arrive, you know, end of May and stay for the whole summer, then do that. But to come for a couple of days, then go back to where your primary residence is, and then come back in a couple of weeks for a couple of days, I think that's where we would be getting into a dangerous sort of travel pattern, and you're putting this community at risk because you just want to be able to move as you used to be able to.
Well, can we have them quarantine every time they come back? I mean, is that a possibility?
It probably would be better coming from the public health order than from the towns themselves.
Would we want to just follow the guidelines of whatever public health order comes out, since we've got virtual compliance on short-term rentals, not 100%, but probably 97%. And the bed and breakfasts are not renting. The motels currently, as far as I know, have primarily just the construction workers and the people who live there more long-term. Is that enough control for now?
Understanding that
this is Tim, and in my opinion, that would be.
Okay. Jerry, you were going to say something?
I'm sorry to interrupt. This board, we have to remember, this board meets every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This is a situation where, different than most of the things you address that are kind of static, and you make a decision about it, and that decision is going to be good for 6 months, a year, you know, when that's usually the environment that you're working in here. It's a really fluid environment, but happily you meet every 2 weeks. You have the ability to meet as an emergency meeting, and you have granted authority to town administrator to act sort of in between, which he has done.
Mm-hmm.
So those tools are fairly, fairly short-term and able to react quickly. So a lot of things will happen between the next two weeks. You just know that's true. There will be, right now we're up to the 4th amended CDPHE order. The first one coming out March 25th. The 4th one came out on April the 9th. And that's good, because what's happening is people question the order when they figure out, oh, it says this, but you know, in real life, that didn't work so well. And so they keep amending, which is really good. They amended the order to deal with personal care products that people would sell, and no, those aren't grocery stores. And, you know, each time they, so all I'm saying is that it's an evolving situation, but you do have the fairly frequent meetings, and in between the meetings, you have the authority granted to the town administrator. I suspect you'll probably want to do something more, but the other things will happen. The state will have acted, and Jefferson or Clear Creek County Public Health will have acted, and that may inspire you to do more or the same, or not have to address an issue that they have. Not saying you always kick the can down the road, but that's kind of the nature of the environment. And I think you've taken some real steps. Maybe you see how they're working out and whether there are complaints.
Okay.
With just the recent, activity that I've experienced with Ken, I think that it's been working really well.
Okay. Does anybody want to take stronger action at this time?
I like the Hotel California thing, but I don't know. I think I'm alone in that one.
Any other discussion?
One thing I would mention, and I think Kent has the power under the resolution to do what he has done. But you'll notice the motion in there says to confirm it or to modify or change it. See, my dog's talking now too, Paul. But you need to have treats to throw to the dog, and then it helps. I think Kent can say this on his own behalf, but I think that even if you don't want to make any changes to what he's done, he's kind of asked you to confirm, because you can expect that he's going to get pushback from people. This is an unusual thing for the town to say, hi, you can't operate a business. People aren't used to being told that by government. And it's sort of, where do you get off, Mr. Town Administrator, to do that? Well, he's got the resolution, but I think that he would appreciate, he can speak for himself, but I've seen this elsewhere. He would appreciate some, honest, bluntly political support behind the decisions he's made, so that the next 2 weeks will be hard, but won't be quite as hard as a result. Kent?
Did you have any comments, Kent?
His image is frozen.
Yes, it is.
You're frozen.
Can you hear them?
Now I can.
Okay.
It froze for a second.
Okay. Did you have any comments, Kent?
No, and it does, I guess the only additional comment addressing Mary's inquiry and question and request is that it doesn't mean that additional communication can't be made to the short-term rental owners or any other owners of the businesses as well. It doesn't have to be in order. There was earlier in the conversation where there was a communication given by Gunnison County to, I forget who the intended audience was, but it was just saying, trying to get the message across. And that's probably the most important thing during this time, is the messaging. That seems to be, people have the best information they have, and then also what's the messaging that goes out, and sometimes it works better than others. And a lot of it depends on the consistent messaging that happens. So.
Okay. Well, we have 2 recommended motions in the packet. Would anybody like to make either one?
I'll make a motion. I move to confirm the Board of Selectmen's support for the actions taken by the town administrator on closing of Georgetown Lake and to all activities except walking or hiking, and the order closing short-term rentals in Georgetown.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to confirm the Board of Selectmen's support for the actions taken by the town administrator on the closing of Georgetown Lake to all activities except walking and hiking, and the order closing the short-term rentals in Georgetown. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. We move on to staff reports then. So the first one is lease for Centennial Mill for storage of the street sweeper.
It's just information at this point. I'm discussing with HGI, yes, HGI. That is in charge of the Centennial Mill, not HGI, George. Yeah,
Yes.
HGI. For the storage of the street sweeper, they did have somebody else storing something within it. And as far as the street sweeper, that would be close to downtown where the majority of the time, that's where we want to use it anyway. And it could be stored inside, and then just talking with them about that possibility. So just wanted to inform you of that's trying to proceed on that. And then we have the treasurer's financial statements, which Mary sent to you. If you were able to take a look at them and review them, she sent both, and this is the draft, basically for December 31st, 2019, and then also as of the end of March. She has been working with her person that she works with each year, is preparing for the audit, going over different things. These are draft numbers. She wants to reiterate that over and over again, because she is so particular, like a good accountant, that when one number is off. But we did end up 2019 in a fairly good position as far as both with the general fund and with other things. And of course, I don't have that number memorized. We ended up about, the net revenue over the expenditures in the general fund was about a little over $300,000, $339,000 was what it ended up to be on the actuals. So that was more than helpful, of course, and part of that was due to like the Gateway project, that not getting completely done last year. But it was also a better revenue year than what we had budgeted for, but we budget conservatively. The March numbers, as far as, and I can go over any of the numbers within the budget, and I'll have you ask questions in just a second here, but the March numbers, they're not going to show as yet the complete shutdown of our businesses in our town. The sales tax numbers we get, it takes a while for that number to come to us. We just received the February numbers, and Mary had sent that to you as well as one of the attachments. And it basically showed that the sales tax so far this year, we have received $161,480. Now, you know, we budgeted just right at just under $1 million. So that's good, but there's a long ways to go. And we know that there's going to be a hit to the sales tax. The hit to the sales tax, we will not know March's numbers until the first or second week of May. And then we won't know April's numbers until the first or second week of June. One thing that I would give as a number or an idea to keep in mind is that our March and April sales tax numbers usually are not our highest months, obviously. Our highest months are in the summer, or in December. And basically from May through September is very strong months. So it's going to become very critical as the weeks go forward when things are allowed to return to somewhat normal, and what somewhat normal looks like. I don't know what that looks like yet. It's very early in the game to discuss what our numbers will look like, because a lot of times with governmental accounting, it's almost you're looking at a past cycle, and it's hard to anticipate. But we did not have, and as you understood in the fall, we did not have a extravagant budget by any means for this year. We did not have large projects. We were going to finish Gateway. We're going to do the water main on Taos between 10th and 11th, but and maybe possibly Strauss Park. But other than that, there's not a lot of large projects that are occurring. And we don't have a large workforce. So you may hear from other communities and other counties. I just heard Boulder today furloughing a number of employees, but they said it was mainly seasonal employees. And for us, we're not in that situation yet. We do need to keep a close eye on it. We need to understand what is occurring, and our budget is dependent on sales tax. But 1 month of basically lost tax revenue at this point does not make a season or a year yet. But we are monitoring it closely, and there may be suggestions in the future of different things that can be done. But right now, our budget is healthy. We do have healthy reserves, and we are not acquiring anything extra at this point. And we're being careful with what we do. And rather than go through all the numbers, and there's quite a few numbers, I would ask if you have any questions regarding all those numbers and what I could point out one way or another if needed.
Yeah, Kent, this is Tim, and I had a question for you. I noticed on the March 2020 financial statement that road and bridge overtime was at 129%.
Yes, sir.
And I was just wondering if that was a line item that we need to look at to increase the budget for next year, or if there was some kind of circumstance that happened that caused that.
Well, part of that circumstance was we were without a road and bridge employee at the very beginning of the year for a short time. So we were down to 2 employees for a short time. So that's part of it. And then we had the very large, snow in February that caused part of it. I think I'll have to take a little bit closer look as far as the total, but that's an awful, we'll make sure of that.
Glad they got that grader out. That grader was a big help to the Main Street there, that one section between 11th and 10th.
Yes.
Any other questions on the financials? Okay.
One other thing, Lynette, and I was expecting it to come up either from yourself or from others, is we are, we did have a couple of requests from businesses regarding different things that have occurred to them. Don't have any suggestions at this point regarding that, to single out any business more particular than any other. But one thing that talked with you earlier today about, and also talked with Jerry, was, at some point we do have an overage, and that's with your numbers. We do have the final number regarding the overage of the parks sales tax from last year. The bond or the ballot issue said that it would generate up to $115,000 last year. And the park sales tax actually generated $31,100 or $455 more than that. So it generated $146,455.19. So that $31,000 needs to be returned or refunded in some manner to the people who paid that tax. And talked with, there may be a couple possibilities of how we can do that. And, but I did want to let you know that that was the amount that the overage ended up to be. So it's a large amount for us, but it's not a huge amount in terms of sales tax dollars overall. But
could the choice be put to the people that are given the refund that they can either get the refund or they can get something that allows the town to retain the amount?
no, the money, Jerry may be able to speak to it quickly.
Under a Tabor, isn't that a Tabor move?
It is, but in order to ask to retain it, it has to be at an election. And at $30,000 to trigger an election, you use up a good fraction of the 30,000. It's not a very big number in that sense. The choices, and the CML has put out a very good publication called the Tabor Handbook. It tells you everything you ever want to know about Tabor, and there's a whole section in it on refunds and the various mechanisms that cities over the 20 years Tabor's been around have used to refund money, and how the courts have treated those. In the early days, there were a lot of challenges, which is good because we have a pretty good track record now of what is appropriate and what isn't under Tabor. The courts have been very forgiving about the no need for exactitude in making sure that the dollar the taxpayer A paid gets back to taxpayer A. They've said sort of any reasonable means. And Kent and I, in talking about earlier today, feel there's probably two main categories, and within those categories we can look a little more closely and bring to you some choices. There's the classic sales tax category, so you declare a sales tax holiday for one day, etc. The issue for that is the reprogramming of vendors' computers, and that's a real burden for them that we'd like for $31,000 to avoid. The other sort of category that other cities have chosen has been something around utility billing. And that's something that's a little easier for the town to manage, less costly. And there are a couple of different approaches that we would like to maybe put a little more detail to and bring to you at a future meeting. But that would probably be the fastest way to do it. And so a water or sewer bill goes down by a certain amount, and in 1 month, and you're done. I would want to kind of compare that against the Tabor Handbook and hopefully some litigation that some other city has gone through and gotten a good decision on. We kind of model what we do based upon something the courts have said yes to. So I'd like to pursue that, and I think we can bring to you some good choices that you can choose amongst.
Probably the biggest benefit with something like that is it could benefit every customer, utility customer, and every business. And then it could be based on their EQRs, which is the equivalent residential unit. but certain businesses are charged more. They would benefit more. There could be, and then could provide direct relief to each, a little bit of relief, not it wouldn't cover the entire bill, but it would directly benefit each customer and within the town of Georgetown. And I think that would be something that would be received well.
I personally, at this time, I think it would help the businesses who aren't allowed to be open, but they're still being charged for the water and sewer. Restaurants are still open for takeout, but they're not using the same amount of water as they would if they had a restaurant full of people. And the homeowners and even the renters who end up paying their water and sewer for wherever they rent, it would help them, especially if they are currently out of a job or awaiting unemployment benefits or whatever their situation is. So I guess I'm in favor of using a utility kind of deferment or rebate or rate reduction or something to offset whatever hardships they're going through right now.
We can bring some choices to you
Okay,
and get further direction from you so that we can then finalize one and see how it gets implemented.
does that sound good to everybody else, or do you
Yeah,
have
that
other
sounds-
ideas?
Yeah.
Yep, that's good
Yeah,
to
I'd
me.
like to take a look at that.
Okay, wonderful. So just to paraphrase what Kent has said, for right now, the town's in pretty decent shape. Lots will become clearer the more we know about how long the closures are gonna be extended. Certainly if it goes into our summer, it's gonna have a more devastating, it just depends on how long those closures last. I don't want to be the gloom and doom for say, but realistically, we don't know. So just wanted to put it out there in a public meeting that Kent's taking a good hard look at it, keeping close eye on it. I am. I assume you guys are too. So if we all put our heads together and any ideas that anybody has for things we can do, I'm participating, as I sent to you guys. I have been participating in a conference call that Congressman Nagoose has been doing on a weekly basis, and just following the legislations that the bills that are going through to provide assistance. There are bills being proposed to provide community stabilization funds, payroll protection funds. There's a lot going on. So anything that we can keep an eye on, tap into, and if we end up offering people relief from utility bills, say, for a longer period of time, just if there is a fund that we can be reimbursed from to offset those lost revenues, that would be great. So just keeping an eye on things. Does anybody else have any comments on Georgetown's budget health? Okay.
I just
And
might have one more thing for
Sure.
Kent. The question that I asked you about road and bridge overtime.
Yes, sir.
So your response led me to think that the salary savings would cover the overtime overage. Does that
Possibly.
sound right?
I would think so,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Did you want to talk about Strauss Park? Ken?
Strauss Park, and I just want to say this, I guess, also for public consumption, but also for the board's consumption. It has received the design has received a conditional certificate of appropriateness from the DRC. Have a contract proposal for the design, which will, the design of the construction documents, which will allow some of those answers to come forward to get the remaining items at the DRC, because they gave a conditional, there's some conditions that the designers need to come back with specific answers for. Some of that will come out because of the construction plans. In order to get the construction plans done, we need to have the contract approved. I did not put it at last meeting, and I did not put it at this meeting just because things are real tentative right now. And we do need to keep moving forward on that Strauss Park project, but I was just providing a little bit of hesitation first before, so we have a little bit more knowledge about what our overall budget picture is going to be for the year. It'll be a contract of about $50,000 for the construction plans, which the park sales tax would more than covered. And actually, part of this, we weren't able to spend the entire amount last year because of the delays in getting the certificate of appropriateness from the DRC and other reasons towards the end of the year. But I think it is important to move forward on those construction plans. But I was going to have it, if it was okay with the board, what would you be comfortable with timing as far as with that construction contract? I guess is the better question than what I started with.
What you also mentioned to me today was that if the closures go on and the sales tax revenues remain very suppressed, we can always go only as far as we have funds for, and not do anything really extensive as far as the refresh for Strauss Park in this calendar year.
Correct.
So just to throw
the one
that
thing
out
that
on the table.
The one thing that we will do is there's a sewer connection occurring in Rose Street for Little Annie's, which is a business across the street from Strauss Park. While the road is opened up, it would be cheaper to go ahead and get the sewer connection done for the bathrooms that will be at Strauss Park, and go ahead and get that rough in to at least the edge of the park. Then we can bury it and then connect to the bathrooms whenever that occurs. But especially while the shutdown is happening, Ryan and I have been talking with Banky in order to get, because there's already basically a directive to Little Annie's that they needed to get their own sewer connection, which they didn't have previously. And then to combine it with, make that connection and get that sewer at least through that road on Rose Street, especially while everything's shut down and there's less traffic. As you said, Rob, there's still some traffic going to Guanella Pass, but I'm thinking with the county's closure of county roads, that's going to become less and less over the days and weeks. And he's looking at the last week of April or first week of May, which I'm pretty sure it'll be either as things just open up or everything will still be closed. That if they can get that sewer connection done and out of the road and get that road back together, it'll almost be the perfect time to at least get that done as far as that sewer connection. But
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, if you've got it open, I'm, you know, you want to do it to the edge of the park. You know, I guess you would be ripping up the whole park if you want to do it to where the site would be, where the
Right.
bathrooms eventually will go. So, yeah, it's a shame you got to, you know, it'd be great if you can do it all in one swoop, but hey, that's
This
great.
at least,
Yeah, edge of the park. That's smart. That's just good heads up thinking.
yeah, it is.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yep.
I think that's a great idea.
All righty. Anybody else have anything else?
In regards to the parks or anything else?
Anything?
So if we're moving, are we moving on from the parks? I just have a question for Kent.
Go for it.
So what's the latest on the Bighorn crossing? And are we aware as the town that they had some snafus as far as getting some of those bigger pieces in over the weekend? Were you aware of that?
Not aware of that. Nobody communicated that, didn't hear that from any other source. I knew that they were coming at some point, but it didn't come on the day that they said it would come. So I was just waiting for the next communication when it would come. They had submitted for plan review. There was some discussion regarding wind speeds. And this is for the apartment, the first apartment building. They can dig on the ground. And they wanted a footing and foundation permit. And then just today, or actually just this afternoon, I talked with Dan with Safe Built, or just before noon, sorry. They had some additional discussions with them regarding the plan review, and they went ahead and were going to issue them a footing and foundation permit. So that was just today. So they will be proceeding on the footing and foundation permit regarding the apartments as far as the Bighorn crossing. And then shortly after that, I'm sure the rest of the building permit plan review will be completed, and the rest of the building permit will be issued.
Do they just have the one apartment they're working on right now, or they have the other ones sort of set up too? They're
going to do them one right after the other. That timing's a little bit unclear, but every indication from them is they were going to build all three this year. I don't know how quickly. I think part of it has to do with how much room they have too. Once they get the footings and to maneuver those boxes into place for the modular units on the first apartment building.
Was there some construction, it looked like at the other end on the home things? Did I notice that, or was I just seeing something else? They
were not planning to do anything at this point. They had a few months ago, they were saying they were going to do townhomes and apartments. The last communication I had regarding the townhomes was about a month ago, and they said they were going to wait until at least the first apartment building was done before coming back to the townhomes. Okay. There was also some, you've seen the heavy equipment moving the compressed natural gas station for Excel, moving all that stuff out. And they still have quite a few timbers to move out from that location at this point.
Awesome.
So the snafu that I referred to, and just so that you're aware of it, and perhaps we can be a little bit more sharing and routes. Apparently the semis, when they came through with the units, got their GPS must have taken them a different way is my best guess, because they kind of got hung up coming down from Main Street and like the area where Saxon Mountain Road, and then it turns into Clear Creek Drive. So they ended up driving down, my guess is they took the roundabout straight through up 15th to Main,
Wow.
north on Main, all the way down. They got hung up on the hill, and then they got hung up on the hill on the mountainside of 22nd Street. So they came in backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, so if there's more units coming in, or if they have a different drivers, somehow that needs to be communicated.
I'll
Because
give a call
they
and
were
ask them.
stuck. They were stuck on the curves coming down by like Saxon Mountain where it turns into Clear Creek, and then around by the condos down there. They were pretty cattywampus.
Depending on the size, it might be a lot friendlier to come in, you know, if they've got to come off the highway, come off Empire through the junction,
Yep.
bridge down the frontage road, if depending on, I mean, that just is, might be a friendlier route for large sizes.
Yep.
But these look smaller than the townhome units. I mean, maybe they're not, but anyway, they took a weird way. So, and like I said, I was curious about what the building progress was on that with the permits and everything else. So thank you.
Okay. Any other concerns, questions, comments? Okay.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Lynette.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You're
See ya.
welcome. All right. 7:30. Okay. How are you doing, Keith?
Well, no platelets still.
Ah.
So we'll see how much they drop by Friday, and then they're going to try another medication.
Okay.
I can't, the steroid. I killed.
You can meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
So we'll see what happens.
Okay.